Nationwide, today is known as Scout Sunday. It's a day that many churches will recognize Cub, Boy, and Girl Scouts in their community. This is because February 8th, which I think Thursday or Friday, calendars are all over the place right now, but the February 8th is the birthday of scouting in the United States. As most of you may know, I was a Boy Scout. I made it all the way to Life Scout before extenuating circumstances caused me to stop, so just short of Eagle. And I've been thinking a lot about scouting lately. Mostly because I have been having back and forth conversations with the LaSalle Council about the stuff that was left by the now defunct Den that is back in our classroom. Their plan is for them to come and get it and to disperse it to active groups in our community. But also, just because I'm in this place right now, that I feel this great need to be out in the wilderness, to sleep about the sounds of nature, to breathe the fresh air, and to have my clothes and my person smell of campfire smoke and earth. This is a need so far unfulfilled because I am not going camping in this. It's pretty to look at from in here. It's so far unfulfilled, but it has had me reminiscing and thinking back to my days in Jefferson, Ohio, as a member of BSA Troop 41. There are many lessons learned in scouting. Some of them are in the Scout Handbook. Most of them are not. But one of the valuable lessons that I took away from my years in scouting was about service, sharing duties, and fulfilling one's role to the best of one's ability. You see, whenever we went on a camp out, we were each assigned a different task, a different role, quartermaster, cook, etc., etc. You maintained that role for the entire trip. You prepared for that role in the days and the weeks ahead, forming your team. And if you were a cook, then you were developing the menu and getting ingredients. Well, and on that particular camp out, you strove to fulfill whatever role you had been given to the best of your abilities for the entire time you were there. And then the next trip, you were assigned a different role. The jobs were shared as we learned about serving each other, being whatever was needed in that moment, and then being able to let go of that role and move on to something else. I may have found myself on cooking duty more than not, but I didn't always do that. I may have enjoyed it most, but I also had to let it go for a season and then do something else. These themes and lessons are brought up in today's epistolary reading and the gospel. In the epistle, Paul uses a phrase that always makes me cringe when I first hear it because of what my brain decides to do with it. It's the phrase, "I have become all things to all people." My immediate gut reaction, the subconscious response I have to that is, you can't please everyone. You just can't. That's one of those things you learn real quick while cooking for 20 teenagers. In my gut, though, in my brain, I take all things for all people and I add a phrase that's not actually there. So it becomes all things to all people all the time. How many of you have done that? Try to be all things to all people all the time. This is wrong. This is dangerous. This is unhealthy. As human beings, as part of creation, which this last week with our warm spells and sudden snow has proved to us, as part of creation, we as well have seasons. We go through seasons. We may retain a certain role for a series of those seasons, but inevitably there comes a time that we have to move to a new season and change. We may come back eventually, but we go through this rotation. It's natural. It's healthy. Now, Capernaum was the town that the adult Jesus considered home, or at least his home base. It's where he would come back to, where he would return, to be refreshed after journeying all over the Galilean countryside, which could take a toll on you, especially when you did it by foot. And most likely, whenever he came back to Capernaum, he just crashed at Peter's place. It's a pretty big house. But he never remained there. He never stayed for a really long time. Whenever he came, that time was usually occupied by people seeking him out, coming after him, and healing all those that were brought to him. But even Jesus' life, being fully human as well as fully God, passed through seasons. This is part of why he goes out into the wilderness before the sun comes out, before anybody else wakes up and knows where he's going. And when they find him, he says to his apostles, "Let us go to the neighboring towns, so that I may proclaim the message there also. For that is what I came out to do." Different roles to different people under different circumstances at different times. So here's a question to think about. What is your role? Or one of your roles? Ask God if it is where you are to remain for this season, and what you are meant to keep doing, or if your season is changing. And if it is, either way, remaining or changing, shifting, be brave. God will guide you, and God will take you through. The Boy Scouts of America live by the Scout Law. There are 12 points to this motto. I could probably just rattle them off, memorize, but I do have them written down. So at least I can keep them in order. These are things that the Scouts live by, but also that we can take to heart. It goes like this. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. These are always a part of who a Scout is. It's internalized. It remains with you. But each or parts of these 12 points are made manifest at different times. Different circumstances, different locations, different needs, and different strengths. They're always there under the surface, but sometimes different ones are brought out for a purpose, for a role, for a season. A Scout is all these things to all people, however it may show, for the service and the welfare of others. Sounds pretty much like our call as Christians. So that we might all seek out our purpose, our season, and follow these examples, I offer you this prayer based on the Scout Law. You'll hear all 12 points, but they're kind of elaborated ways that we can take them with us. Dear Lord, when facing deceit and dishonesty, let us be trustworthy. If we see hypocrisy and faithlessness, let us be loyal. Where disregard of others and mere materialism prevail, let us be helpful. Whenever we find people in despair, let us be friendly. In an atmosphere of ill manner, let us be courteous. Where some measure power in brutality and crudeness, let us be kind. Though law-breaking and rule-scoffing are common, let us be obedient. While others grumble and grouch, let us be cheerful. In an environment blighted by waste and extravagance, let us be thrifty. When confronted with danger and temptation, let us be brave. As we see filth and pollution everywhere, let us be clean. And while witnessing impiety, let us remember to be reverent. Seek out your role and measure your season. And in doing so, may you live a life which proclaims the good news. Amen.